So yesterday we completed up to sutta number 10. That was end with the present living. And today I brought this Hindi book, and this is Pali. This is all in Pali language.
This is part of the Samyutta.
Yeah. And this in Hindi has 4 books. This one is 1 book. English version is 1 book. That's why thickness is here. Okay, so this is the second section. This is called Nandana. Nandana. Let's begin with the Nandana Sutta. And here in English it says, "Thus have I heard. On one occasion the Blessed One was dwelling at Savatthi in Jeta's grove, Anathapindika's park. There the Blessed One addressed the bhikkhus thus." So again, now this is to the bhikkhus. Early on the 10 suttas were to the deities. But again, it's still the same place. But this is for the bhikkhus. "Venerable Sir," those bhikkhus replied, and the Blessed One said this. Once in the past, bhikkhus, a certain devata of the Tavatimsa host was revealing in Nandana Grove, supplied and endowed with the 5 cores of a celestial sensual pleasures, accompanied by a retinue of a celestial nymphs. On that occasion he spoke this verse. So certain deva, so there is no name, so it's called a bhuta pubbam, in the past. Once in the past, bhuta pubbam. Pubbam, previous. Anyatara tavatingsa kayika devata. The devata that lives in the Tavatimsa, Nandane Vane, so came to the Nandana, the grove. And then Achara Sangha Parivata Dipehi Panchahi Kama Gunehi Samapita Samanki Bhuta Paricharayamana Tayang Velayang Imangatang Abhasi. So with the 5 cores of celestial essential pleasure, accompanied by a retinue of a celestial nymphs. So that's like apsaras. You know apsara? Apsaras. Samaggi bhuta paricharyamana. So paricharyamana, not apsaras.
What's the difference?
Paricharyamana means like the service people. Servants.
But apsaras are not servants.
Apsaras are part of the friends. But again it's translated as nymphs. And that moment she said, so she said, so he said, "They do not know bliss who have not seen Nandana." So she came from Nandana Grove. The abode of the glorious male devas belonging to the host of 30. So glorious male devas. Nate sukhang pajananti yena passanti nandanam. Avasang naradevanang tidasanang yasasinanti. So, nate sukhang pajananti. I do not see any sukhang, bliss. Yena passanti nandanam. Yena passanti nandana, in like in this nandana grove. And here, say host of 30. Tidasanam. Tidasanam. So, and here, Tavatingsa, the realm, is if in Hinduism, there is a saying that there are devas up to deva 33 40 33 probably millions of devatas.
10 million, yeah?
10 million. So 33, 1 koti, 10 million.
I think so.
And now here 33, how do you multiply that?
330 million.
333 million.
Yeah.
Yes, so 333 million.
No, just 330.
Is there are that many deities exist. Okay, you understand now?
Yeah.
That many. So 333 million deities exist in Hinduism, and that is on the basis of this state of the existence, Tavatimsa Deva. So that's the heaven, the heaven level, and that's again a third sense sphere heaven.
Okay. Is that the highest in Hinduism?
That's not the highest, but that is up to here they talk.
Okay.
And then from there above is the Brahma that I mentioned yesterday about this heavenly world. So the Tavatingsa is a realm of 33 realms. So basically 33 realms, and each realms, think of it, how many deities will be?
Like 10 million in each.
There are 333 million.
Right. That's a lot in 100 million. So it's like...
So that's why I mentioned yesterday, like one heaven is like a one country.
Right.
And within that one country, there are so many other cities and villages. And that's how the number of deities.
The population of Germany or something, I don't know. But is it, so do the Apsaras and that live there as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it is so named because 33 youths headed by the youth Maga had been reborn here as a result of their meritorious deeds.
Maga.
And Maga himself became Saka, ruler of the Devas.
Okay.
Nandana in the garden of a delight in Tavatimsa, so called because it gives delight and joy to anyone who enters it. And this Deva had just taken rebirth into this heaven, and while wandering through the Nandana grove, he spoke the verse as a spontaneous paean of joy over his celestial glory. Mm-hmm.
So he's singing a song for himself about how happy he is.
Yeah. Yeah. So Tavatimsa. And that's the reason here says that the beginning says endowed with the 5 cores of a celestial sensual pleasure. So he was so happy to be born in that state. And that's how he was kind of mumbling.
Yeah, he was
mumbling along with other kind of service means.
Yeah. It's like when you are really happy as well, you just sort of
humming. Evam vute bhikkhave anyatara devata tang devatang gathayang pachabhasi. Having heard that mumbling of such an entertainment, such a wonderful, how beautiful it is. So basically here, they're saying celestial sensual pleasure, which is again same as the sensual pleasure. Eye, ears, tongue, and body, and nose, entertaining that. Another, so, Evam Buddhi says so. When this was said, because Anyataro Devata, another Devata, Tang Devatang, to this Devata, Gathayang Ajapasi, said this Gatha. So replied. So the translation says, when this was said, because a certain Devata replied to that Devata in verse. It says, don't you know, you fool? Natwang bale pajanasi. Bale here means fool. That maximum of the arhats, maxims of arhats, impermanent are all formations. Their nature is to arise and vanish. Having arisen, they cease. Their appeasement is blissful. So the Pali word is so direct, so beautiful. It's like, Natwang bale pajanasi yatha arhantang vato. So there are arhants, those who are more. Anityang sabba sankhara. Sabba sankhara. All conditions are anityang. On the translation, impermanence are all the formations.
Anicca sabba sankhara.
Anicca sabba sankhara. Upada vaya dhammino. Upada means arising, and then vaya means vanishing. Dhammino, the nature is such, or the principle. Upajjitva nirujjanti. As it arises, as it vanishes. So, let's see what there is. And this is according to the commentary, says the lady Devata is telling the man Devata off. So the man was so happy to be born in such a wonderful, everything is delighted.
He's just born in heaven after doing so many good things. He's so happy.
And so she said, this rejoinder to a female Deva who was a noble disciple.
She was a disciple.
Thinking, this foolish Deva imagines his glory to be permanent and unchanging, unaware that it is subject to cutting off, perishing, and dissolution. She spoke her stanza in order to dispel his delusion. The maxim of the Arhats is profound by the Buddha. The Deva king Sakka repeats it on the occasion of the Buddha's parinibbana. The first line usually reads Anicca vata sankhara rather than as here Anicca sabba sankhara. An identical exchange of verses occur below.
Anicca vata sankhara.
Yeah. Formation here are all formations of the three planes of existence. Sabbe te bhumaka sankhara, which are impermanent in the sense that they become non-existent after having come to be. Their appeasement is blissful. Nibbana itself, called the appeasement of these formations, is blissful.
They would achieve enlightenment.
Yes, they can. That's why, like anagami.
Okay.
Anagami people, and even they can become a sotapanna too. And
the Tavatim are.
Yeah.
Okay. It must
Like
be quite hard for them because
they're indulged.
Yeah.
That's why I need a proper one who knows how to teach. That's why the current Buddha is known as Sattha Deva Manusana. Teacher of gods and humans. And that's same like when we chant Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. At the end of the sutta, it proclaims that how many people, how many devatas been released, have attained.
The biography is talking that Ajamun took very seriously teaching the Devas. Their understanding was a lot more subtle, and they paid deep respect to the teachings more than the human did.
Yeah, like that.
Very interesting.
And now remember, this sutta not by the Buddha. Buddha is simply referring these conversations from the heavens.
It's like paraphrasing.
Paraphrasing, yeah. And in the meantime, what we have to understand here is that some devatas know that even reborn in those heavenly world is impermanent.
They're wise enough to know that no matter how great it is, this is not going to last.
Yeah, and it doesn't last long. So that's why I say anicca sabba sankhara upadavaya dhammino upajitva niruchanti tesang upasamo sukho. So this is normally, if you remember, whenever we perform the remembrance ceremony or dedicating someone who departed. So when people put the robe on a string, and monks chant Anicca vata sankhara upadavaya dhammino upajitava niruchanti tesang upasamo sukho. So that's from here.
Okay. What was the sutta called again?
Nandana Sutta.
Nandana Sutta. Yeah, I've heard of it actually. Mention it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's from here.
So like, I'm guessing, saying this, like the analogy you gave of a man holding onto a branch with rats eating it, tiger, it applies to devas as well, because like the honey is falling in their mouth, but it's much sweeter than the honey that we get. They're so intoxicated by it.
Like this devata.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is...
And just reborn. And it says, because of a meritorious deed that he did while he was human, caused him to be reborn in the heaven. Tavatimsa heaven.
There are devas who just like humans, we have humans who just don't want to hear this. Like
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
like Mara is a deva, right?
Basically, it's simply when we are indulged in something, you don't want to hear any other things. You will be absorbed in it.
Yeah.
Mm.
You kind of get angry when you hear it as well, like,
Yeah.
stop ruining my fun.
Mm. Yeah. So Tavatimsa. And then Buddha, before he become being born in a human world, he was in a Tushita heaven,
It's about.
above the Tavatimsa.
Like before he was born as Siddhartha.
Yeah,
Ah, okay.
his last birth before human being.
Mm.
So he was born in a Tusita heaven as a Tusita Devaputta, Swet Ketu.
Svetaketa.
His name was that.
Is there a Jataka about it?
Yeah. And he was there, and he was invited to reborn in a human world. It's a time now to reborn. And after he became the Buddha, when he went up to preach his mother, again his mother also reborn in Tusita.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
But in Tushita, there are certain devas cannot travel up, yeah? Because it's too high.
Ah, okay.
So that's why Buddha, rather than going into the Tusita heaven, he taught Abhidhamma in Tavatimsa.
So everyone can hear it.
Everyone can hear it.
Oh, cool. This Tusita can come down, but
Yeah. Yeah. So when Buddha arrived in the Tavatimsa, then the devatas from Tushita and Yama came down.
Right.
So it's Tavatimsa, and then Yama, and then Tusita.
Ah, so it's the highest.
Yeah.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
Just below the Brahmas.
After that, Tusita is still a normal, in a sense spare world, existence. And after that, what happens? Yeah, and after that, Nibbana Ratideva, even not Brahma yet. It's Rupa Brahma.
Ah,
Rupa Brahma.
yeah.
And then after that, Arupa Brahma.
Where the Anagamis go.
Yeah. So like that. So that's the Nandana Sutta.
There's
Now next, here, the next sutta in English version there is no name for the Pali names. And the next sutta is delight in English, whereas in Pali it says Nandati Sutta. Early on Nandana, and now Nandati. Nandati means delight, being delight or entertain. Savati nidanang ekamantang chita kosa devata bhagavato santike imang gathang abhasi. Savati nidanang. So this story begins in Savati. Ekamantang, once upon a time. In one time. Chita kosa devata, one devata was standing there. Bhagavato santike, near to the Blessed One. Imang gatang abhasi, this verse spoke. So here, at Savati standing at one side, that devata recited this verse in the presence of the Blessed One. One who has sons delights in sons. One with a cattle delights in cattle. Acquisition truly are a man's delight. Without acquisitions, one does not delight. Nandati puttehi puttima gomiko gohi tatheva nandati upadihi narasa nandana nahiso nandati yo nirupaditi. Upadihi. Upadhi. Upadhi basically here it says acquisition. Upadhi basically the kilesas, subtle kilesas that are hanging on. So and upadhi, let's say upa and dha, to rest upon. So that's why it's a form of a defilement.
Like, resting on the acquisition for delight.
Yeah.
Yes.
Literally, that upon which something rests, the foundation or paraphernalia of existence. The word has both objective and subjective extension. Objectively, it refers to the things acquired, one's assets and possessions. Subjectively, to the act of appropriation rooted in craving. In many instances, the two senses merge, and often both are intended. The word functions as a close counterpart of upadana, clinging, attachment, to which, however, it is not etymologically related. Right? So there are 4 types. So on the basis of this, I was telling that this is a kilesa. Now here, there are 4 classification of upadi. So number 1, kamupadi, acquisition as sensual pleasure and material possessions. So happy that what you have got, enjoying, not thinking of impermanence.
Like enjoying the new smell of the new robe.
Yeah, like that. And then the second is a khandupadi, and this is basically I'm still young. I have no illnesses. I can eat. I can play. I can hear. I can do everything. No problem with my body and mind at all. I'm healthy. So it's basically become a unmindful.
The youthful exuberance.
Yes, youthful. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Why do I need to meditate and try to think about this stuff?
I'm still young. I need to enjoy my life before I do anything. So why should I meditate? Why should I come to the temple and close my eyes and like that?
Why should I be a monk?
Like that. And the third, kilesupadi. So defilements which are the foundation for suffering in the realms of misery. Kilesa. And here again, it comes back to the karma again. The sensual pleasure. So there's a kilesa, 2 types of kilesa. One is a vatu kilesa, and then another one is kilesa, karma kilesa. So it's a sensual kilesa that embedded with the sensual, and then another one is embedded with the materials.
Oh, okay. So what's the distinction?
Well, basically, you rely on that and enjoying with.
So
which has this kilesa has got a deeper in a sense that it has got the greed, hatred, and ignorance comes in there.
In the material creation.
Yeah. And then the fourth one is abhisankharupadi, means the volitional formation, accumulation of karma, which are the foundation for all suffering in samsara. I think this one is the hardest one. And this one is, again, on the basis of this, most of the Buddhists practice giving a dana and making a wish.
Yeah.
So this is abhisankharapati. So you have this attachment that after I have given this, may I get this and this and that in next life.
I see that a lot. It's my sort of like dharna is for letting go, but they don't really let go.
No, it's not letting go. Most of the people, when they give a dana, hoping something reward in the future. So that is abhisankharupati.
Let's say, why do they have it because monks will teach them that, or is it just?
It is partly monks' teaching, and partly lack of understanding. And probably, we would should accept that it's based on monks' teaching, whether how much they emphasize on it. And basically, the householders are encouraged to give a dana, and then and the monks are basically feeding their desire that what you give you will get. And this is a material gain that everyone wish for, because this is empirical. And some people may feel like this life feeling very troubled because probably I didn't give dana in my last life. So whatever I can do in this life, I should do more by giving a dana, so that I will get more prosperity in next life. And this is how monks are giving talks or instructions, and which is one way is right, but not in a complete one. And the most important is when you give a dana, and again, which is not nice to hear, and people doesn't want to hear that.
No, they don't. And what's the point?
Yeah, everyone will see. After I have given, I should get some rewards.
I mean that's like sort of
bargaining.
And it's also the monks who say this is not good for them as well, because that's their calculations, right? For material, for sensual. It's like they want it so bad, like give me a dana.
Like that. So that's why the abhisankhara upati is one of the things that we need to be very mindful of. That's why when you give sake of giving.
Just to make them happy.
No even a thought of making them happy.
No, just giving.
Just give.
Okay. It's so
subtle.
It's like. Well, how can you, like, it's impossible to tell people this, right? Like the lay people, like normal lay people who just want to come to the temple and give dana. Like, how do you explain this to them?
It's not easy.
Sounds impossible.
It's not easy. It's like if I'm not getting anything, why should I do this?
Like, why should I do it?
But the ultimate sense of giving a dana, according to Buddhism, is like a letting go of your attachment. And now, very moment when you give, you are already bringing more attachment of what I'm going to get. It's like a bargaining with what you're offering.
I say, I made this. I want the monks to eat this so that I get good karma. Like this is.
So that's why there are classification of giving. Like if you give and you're not thinking of it, you just give for the sake of giving, then you are the boss of what you have given. Okay? And then if you have given it, and then if you are kept thinking that what the monks have done with it, then you become a slave of what you have given. Because it bothers you.
Yeah.
Because it's called a dasa dana.
Dasa.
Yeah, it bothers you. Your mind becomes so caught up with this, and you cannot let it go. And you're constantly thinking of my dana, what monks have done. Yeah? Become a dasa, a slave of your own yodhana.
It's just completely losing the point of dana.
Yeah.
Right.
Like that. So that's why it must be sake of a giving, and you just give.
Yeah. Give and forget.
Yeah. That's why there is a, in terms of economy, the principles of economy, there is one section in Buddhism says, there are certain people you must give the sake of a giving. And these are like monks, parents. You give sake of a giving. There is nothing you will get return, and you still have to give.
That's quite easy. Like that's something you do all the time. Yeah, you just give your parents present.
And then the sense of a giving is the one for householders is very difficult, because they have spent so much time, and then after spending an hour of hard working, they will earn, let's say in an English pound, they get only 8 pounds or 9 pounds maximum, or maybe less than that, and that's how they have a possessiveness.
It's hard-earned money, and they want to give it away.
Like that. And that's why when you give, you always think of, because it's been in the custom that what you do, you will be rewarded.
It's part of culture, right?
Yeah. And then as a result of that, it's difficult for someone to give without expecting anything return.
Right.
So that's why the true givers are those who are poor.
Yeah. That's true. Because they just, it's such a big deal.
Yeah, it's not a big deal for them, because they haven't got this accumulation of wealth. They just let go, and just every day. It's like a working today just for today.
Yeah. Poor people seem to be more generous in my eyes.
Yeah.
Like they're so happy with you.
Yeah. And most importantly, poor people, when they give, they just give.
Yeah.
They do not think of what the monks or people are going to do with this. Whereas rich ones normally always want to possess.
It's how they were thinking that got them rich. It's like nothing is free in this life.
Yeah.
So I gotta get something. But I've noticed, like visiting poor people's homes, they're so generous. They try to offer you everything. But rich people are a bit more standoffish. Interesting. Well, what's the name of it again?
The sutta.
Yeah, no, the
Abhisankharupati.
Abhisankharupati.
Abhi means big, maximum. Sankhara, conditioning. Upati, you're attached to, clinging to.
Abhisankharupati.
So that makes the lifespan in samsara longer.
Okay.
So Buddha's teaching is to shorten the samsara, whereas intentionally we are longing it.
Yeah.
Because you are asking for.
Yeah.
You are asking for my next life, I will get this. Whereas Buddha's teachings is cut off the next life.
So you think you're filling your dana part of me, but you're doing the opposite.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Good to know that.
But again, these things we need to be very mindful when we talk. It
So-
shouldn't be too extreme. It takes time.
It's also like, in a way, you have to already practice mindfulness to be able to do that as a layperson. Like, you have to know the subtle sort of inclinations of your own mind and be aware of that when you're doing.
Interesting. Okay. Let's move on. We haven't touched the teaching, what the Buddha said about. Okay, so after the Devata said this, and Buddha said, Sochati puttehi puttima. Sochati. Gomi ko gohi tadeva sochati. Sochati means sorrow, sadness. So it says, Sochati puttehi puttima. Having have got the sons, you will feel sadness, sorrow over sons.
So my dad knows that.
And then Gomiko Gohi Tatheva Sochati. So one with a cattle, sorrow over the cattle. Upadhihi Narasa Sochana. Upadhihi Narasa Sochana. So Upadhi is the cause of sorrow.
For all people.
For Narasa, or for all people. Narasa. Nara means the people. Upadhihi Narasa Sochana. Upadhi is the cause of sorrow for all the people. Nahi sochati ya nirupadhi. One who hasn't got the upadhi, he hasn't got the sorrow. So he's saying, without acquisition, one does not sorrow.
Unless you have less sorrow for you.
Less you have, happier you become.
No, I believe that.
So it's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Sochati puttehi puttima gomiko gohi tatheva sochati upadhihi narasa sochana nahi so sochati ya nirupati. Nirupati. So when there is no upati. Nahi so sochati. There is no sorrow to that person, one who hasn't got the upati.
No upati, no existence. No sorrow.
We're still rephrasing it. Less.
Yeah,
less is happier.
Materialism, all that.
Okay. Now next one. Okay. The 13. And again, it's Savati Nidanam. Ekamantang Thita Khosa Devata Bhagavato Santike Imangatang Abhasi. Ekamantang Thita Khosa Devata. Standing. Ekamantang Thita Kho. Thita. Standing at one side. Khosa Devata. That Devata. Bhagavato Santike, near to the monk, the Blessed One. Imangatang. This Gatha Abhasi said. Nati putta samang pemang. Nati putta samang pemang. There is no love more than like a son. Nati putta samang. Loving their children like the love of their children. Natti gosa mitang dhamam. Natti gosa mitang dhanam. Gosa is supposed to be goha, but here gosa. Okay. No wealth equal to cattle. Yeah? There is no light like the sun. Yeah? And among the waters, the ocean is supreme. So this is the God, as a deity says. Yeah? So it says, there is no affection. There is no affection like that for a son. The parents always like their children. There is no wealth equal to cattle. Now, the cattle are the wealth those days. It's like even now in Nepal, when I was traveling to Everest Base Camp, anyone has got this yaks.
Oh yeah, yaks are so precious.
So precious. It's like the life.
The Tibetans call it boat of life.
Yeah. So like that, even now. But those days, and during the time of the Buddha, cattle are precious. And then there is no light like the sun. Natti Surya Sama Abha. Surya Sama. Sama means the same or similar. Abha means the light. And then after this deity said to the Buddha, then the Buddha replied. This is even beautiful. Natti atta samang pemam. Atta means me, mine. Everyone loves themselves more than anything.
That's true.
Natti dhanya samang dhanam. Natti dhanya samang dhanam. So dhanya here means the grain.
No greater wealth than grain.
Yeah. Because that time of farming, farmers need the grains so they can replant it. So that's the most important grain. Even now in Nepal, I think even in Thailand as well, rice grain, you have to preserve it. And you have to preserve in such a delicately, very carefully. And when season comes, you sow it. And that is feeding them. And that's more precious than having a wealth. And particularly this time of the pandemic, wealth is no use. Everyone relying on their own small land that they have got.
Just to feed.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you use your wealth to feed yourself anyway, so.
Yeah, like that. So, like that. And then, Natti Panya Sabha Abha. Panya. Wisdom.
Is the greatest light.
No equal to the light of wisdom. Vutti ve Paramasarati. Among the waters, the rain is supreme. So there is no light like wisdom. Let me read. There is no affection like that for oneself. No wealth equal to grain. There is no light like wisdom. Among the waters, the rain is supreme.
See, even the love for a child, that's sort of based on your love for yourself, because you see it as a reflection of yourself.
Yeah.
Like, it's your son.
Yeah, your son. And also there is a sense of someone is continuing my lineage.
It's like you're living through them, basically.
Yeah. And now here, There is no affection like that for oneself, because people, even if they discard their parents and neglect to care for their children, still care for themselves. Then there is no wealth equal to grain, because people, when famished, will give away gold and silver and other assets in order to abstain grain.
Yeah, that's true. Like, if people are hungry enough, they don't care. Like, they just give any amount.
Yeah. And there is no light like wisdom, because wisdom can illumine the 10,000-fold world system and dispel the darkness concealing the 3 periods of time, which even the sun cannot do. Among the waters, the rain is supreme, because if the rainfall were to be cut off, even the great ocean would dry up. But when the rain continues to pour down, the world becomes one mass of water, even up to the Abhasara Deva world. Okay? So that is, what is number 23?
We are on number 13, right?
Yes, we are on number... No, we have finished 13.
No light greater than the light of wisdom.
This is Natti Panya Sama Apha, is the logo. Most of the Buddhist education system, they put that as a logo. And also in Nepal, in Buddhist studies and logo, the word is Natti Panya Sama Apha. And in Thailand also, I think a couple of institute, they use that as a motto of the institute. And that's quite understandable. So this is from here. Natti Panya Sama Apha. Yeah? There is no light like wisdom. There is no light like wisdom. Basically, in Pali, it says Natti Panya Sama Apha, means there is no light equal to wisdom. Like, yeah, okay. Right, okay, and the next sutta is Khattiya Sutta. So Khattiya, okay, Khattiya. Khattiya is the kings. Khattiyo Dvipadang Setho Balibato Chatupadang. Khattiyo Dvipadang Setho. Khattiyo means the warriors are the greatest among the 2-leggeds.
Vedic system.
Yeah. And then Balibaddo Chatupadam. So Balibaddo here is an ox. The words are so interesting. The Khattiya is the best of bipeds. The ox, the best of quadrupeds. So 4. Yeah, I never knew these words. A maiden is the best of wives. The firstborn, the best of sons. This is proper Vedic.
Yeah.
So Komari Setha Bharyanam Yocha Puttana Pappajoti. Komari Satsetha Bharyanam. Komari means the basically here's a maiden, yeah? But the Komari is virgin.
Virgin. I think maiden means virgin.
Really? Oh, okay. So maiden is the best of wives.
Yeah, that's very Hindu.
So then the Buddha said, Sambuddho Dvipadang Setho. Sambuddho Dvipadang Setho. Buddha is the greatest among the two leggeds. A steed, the best of four-leggeds. Ajaniwa Chatupadam. Sususa Setha Bharyanam. An obedient woman is the best of wives. A dutiful boy, the best of sons. So it's basically, we can understand, not just being born as a son, they are great. There are so many sons, they are behaving badly, and destroying even the parents and all the other things. So how could they be the greatest, right? So whereas the Buddha is pointing out that those who are greatest should be there, those who are dutiful. So, like that. So, sususa setha bharyanam. Sususa is obedience. Sususa, behaving well. Sususa.
Well-behaved.
Well-behaved are the greatest wives. Okay. Right. Well, that's quite good. Reading along with the Pali. Gives quite a more insightful. Okay, we stop here. 14.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a Khattiya Sutta 14 ends.
Khattiya Sutta.
Quite interesting. When reading Pali is so nice, like Khattiyo Dvipadang Setho Balipaddo Chatupadang Komari Setha Bharyanang Yocha Puttana Pubbachoti. And Buddha says, Sambuddho Dvipadang Setho Ajanivo Chatupadang Sususa Setha Bharyanang Yocha Puttana Masavoti. There is a chanting. Sambuddho Dvipadang Setho. Yeah, that's from here.
Okay. Best among two-legged beings.
Nisinno Chewa Manjime, who is sitting in the middle. And after that, Kondan. Okay.